Horror aficionados have had slim pickings over the last couple of years, with great horror releases being few and far between. That being said, it looks like Netflix once more has the answer to what we've been looking for in the form of its newest original movie called Things Heard and Seen. But what do we already know about the anticipated Netflix original? And should we expect it to live up to the hype? Well, whether you're a fan of horror or just want to know more about the terrifying experience that is set to grace our screen soon, you've come to the right place, as we're about to explore everything there is to know about Things Heard and Seen. So strap yourselves in and prepare for some jump scares, as things are about to get interesting. But before we get into it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with the notifications turned on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos we post. The release date. After a full year of experiencing the effects of the global health situation on the filming industry, it's safe to say that we can't always trust the release dates that have been given to us. In fact, Netflix has refused to even indicate release dates when it comes to their most anticipated but clearly delayed properties such as Season 4 of Stranger Things and Season 2 of The Witcher. Announcing release date and then having to postpone it not only looks bad for the streaming giant, but crushes the hopes of those who have been waiting patiently for that date to arrive. A great example of this was the release date of Cyberpunk 2077. At the end of last year, the release date for the game was postponed so often that fans actually lost interest in it altogether, which is crazy since it was considered by many to be the most anticipated game of the decade. Netflix has, however, decided to announce the release date for Things Heard and Seen, indicating that it will be available globally on the 30th of April 2021, giving us just over a month to prepare. As we said earlier, it's probably best that we take this announcement with a pinch of salt just to be safe, as we never know whether the continuation of the global health situation may cause the date to be postponed. Since it has been announced, we assume that everything from filming to post-production has been sorted, but the fact that no trailer has been released makes us a bit worried. In other words, let us hope for a release according to the schedule given, but prepare for a later release date so that we don't feel disappointed if the date is moved for some other reason. It's always best not to put all of our eggs in one basket after all. The source material. But if you can't wait to get your hands on Things Heard and Seen, you can always fill your time by taking a look at the source material that it is based on. For those of you who don't know, the horror movie is actually a theatrical interpretation of a novel by the name of All Things Cease to Appear, which has been written by author Elizabeth Brundage. The novel was then adapted into a screenplay by the duo of Shari Berman and Robert Pulcini. The duo was responsible for directing the film, so if it doesn't stand up to your expectations, you know precisely who to blame. Full disclosure, we have yet to read the source material, as we don't want the film to be spoiled for ourselves, but according to sources, it's a pretty great book. The plot of Things Heard and Seen. We don't know much about the official plot of Things Heard and Seen, since nothing has really been released to tease this to us. We are still waiting in anticipation for a trailer and refuse to look at any leaked content in an effort to secure the integrity of the show. What we do know is that it is due to take the form of a thriller, but will be allocated to a space under the horror genre on the streaming platform. According to the description of the show, it will involve a talented Manhattan artist relocating to the Hudson Valley with her husband, but after a while she begins to suspect that her marriage holds a darkness that rivals the history of her new home. The only thing we can truly gather from this description is that there is clearly trouble brewing between the artist and her husband, and that they have probably moved to Hudson Valley in an attempt to get away from the things that have been troubling them. Maybe it was a young intern in Manhattan that her husband decided to entertain, or maybe her husband needed to get away from his extended family for some reason. Either way, the move was supposed to help the couple feel closer to one another. Unfortunately for them, however, the house they decided to move into has a sinister history. Rather than helping them, it will have the effect of playing on their emotions and driving them apart. Whether this is more of a supernatural or natural phenomenon, we have no idea, but this is generally how horrors or thrillers seem to go. Although we have no idea how faithful the screenplay will be to its source material, we can probably get some ideas from All Things Cease to Appear, which revolves around the lives of Catherine and George Clare. Late one winter afternoon, George comes home to find his wife, Catherine, dead and their 3-year-old child alone and in tears. Becoming the main suspect in his wife's murder, a number of both professional and personal secrets about George are discovered, while 3 teenage boys who were orphaned because of tragic circumstances find themselves entangled in the mystery. Since the boys used to live in the house, they might know something about what is going on. Suffice it to say, the source material is a study of psychopathic tendencies that some people might have, and the effects that these tendencies may have on the broader community. And if the plot of All Things Heard and Seen stays even a little bit faithful to its source material, we can expect a thriller of note, which involves mysteries and secrets behind every corner. So if you've been looking for a classic whodunit that rivals the likes of Knives Out and Gone Girl, there's no way you should be missing out on this one. The cast members of the film. While most cast members of the film have been confirmed as of right now, we are still trying to learn more about the specific roles that have been assigned to them. There's no doubt that things are being kept on the hush-hush, with only a few solidified roles having been established over the past month or so. First up, we have the role of Catherine Clare, who is going to be portrayed by the beautiful Amanda Seyfried, although we came to discover Amanda through her portrayal of Karen Smith in the hilarious Mean Girls. It must be said that she has come a long way since then. We've seen her romantic side in Dear John, as well as her dramatic side in the incredible Les Miserables. Although it is likely that she is going to be murdered pretty soon, being the wife of George Clare and all, we assume that the majority of the film will be played out in the past, before this horrific situation developed. And suffice it to say, we can't wait to see what Amanda Seyfried brings to the table. The role of George Clare, on the other hand, is being brought to life by the one and only James Norton, whom you might recognize from the likes of Happy Valley, War and Peace, and of course, McMafia. Norton has always had a knack for playing the role of a lovable sociopath/psychopath, which makes his casting of George Clare absolutely perfect. The character is supposed to be someone whom people want to believe, with the viewer being the only person who can actually see through who he really is. But we have a feeling that the film will be deviating slightly from the novel, so as to give us a surprising twist. Who knows, maybe George was actually innocent all along. We'll have to watch to find out. There are only two other roles that have been confirmed by Netflix. The first is the role of Sheriff Stallings, which is said to be played by Karen Allen. For those of you who don't recognize her, take a look at the Raiders of the Lost Ark and National Lampoon's Animal House, and you'll know precisely who we're talking about. The second role then belongs to Michael Abbott Jr., who is playing the character of Calvin Vale. Other incredible names taking part in the project are Natalia Dyer of Stranger Things fame, Rhea Seehorn from Better Call Saul, and Veep F. Murray Abraham, whom you might recognize from the Grand Budapest Hotel, and Kelsey Griffin, who recently made herself famous for her role in Gotham. So as you can see, the film is absolutely filled to the brim with some of the most incredible actors and actresses from all across the spectrum of the industry. Natalia Dyer is definitely to be the most recognizable face to those who are subscribed to the streaming giant, especially when fans have been waiting patiently for season 4 of Stranger Things. But leading talents like Amanda Seyfried and James Norton should not be excluded from this excitement, as they too are considered to be some of the best in the business. So regardless of the eventual plot of the movie, there's no doubt that fans will be treated to some amazing talent throughout the duration of the film. The filming of Things Heard and Seen. According to sources, it was in September of 2019 that the casting director of Things Heard and Seen brought on Amanda Seyfried, who appears to be the leading talent of the film. October of that year then saw the principal photography of the film being done in an area known as the Hudson Valley in New York. This same month saw talents like James Norton, Natalia Dyer, and Rhea Seehorn being brought into the mix, with the casting director and crew filling out the rest of the cast a short while later. Filming took place using the state-of-the-art technology, which means that Things Heard and Seen will indeed be available to watch in 4K, which is a perk that seems to be shared by all recent Netflix original films. That being said, as a member of Netflix, you will only be able to view the movie in 4K if you have an internet connection capable of maintaining at least 25 megabytes. You will also need a premium Netflix subscription and a device capable of playing 4K video, so don't get too excited if you're missing one of those requirements. But what do you think of Things Heard and Seen? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.